Something that can be a bit tricky is grasping how the economy goes through different cycles of growth. Why doesn't the economy just grow at a gradual pace, and why do these things called booms and busts occur? For example, when the economy seems to be growing and doing well, you'll tend to see situations like businesses making strong profits, more employment opportunities, and often house prices will be on the rise. But when the economy seems to be doing poorly, everything I just mentioned would be the opposite. By the way, when we talk about growth of an economy, the most common way that economists measure growth is through changes in GDP or gross domestic product. GDP looks at the monetary value of the total goods and services produced by an economy over a period of time, say 1 year. Now, there can be several reasons that cycles in economic growth occur. But for the sake of simplicity, let's say that it's two main ones. The first being credit, and the second being structural factors. So let's start off with credit. As I mentioned in the previous topic, banks play a very important part in the economy because they issue credit. And the more available that credit is, the more that people, businesses, and governments can spend beyond what they have. This is important. So let's say Jackie here is short on cash, and she manages to get herself $10,000 from a bank loan. She can then use this money over a period of time to fund her lifestyle expenses, like dining at fancy restaurants. This is fantastic for the restaurants because they're getting more income and they can start building up their savings. The restaurant owners can start spending more on items that they want, like smartphones and nice televisions, and then maybe the technology store owner might use this money as a down payment on a home. So Jackie's happy, businesses are doing well, and house demands are up. So prices go up too. And this is, on a very simple level, how the economy grows to reach a boom. Now, coming back to this example a few years later, let's say the bank says to Jackie, look, the time has come to pay back the debt. And for Jackie, this is tough because she's enjoyed a great lifestyle up until now. So what she has to do is cut back on her spending so that any money that she earns is now directed towards repaying debt. This is called deleveraging. And deleveraging doesn't just impact Jackie, it also impacts the restaurants too. They're suddenly getting less profit, and to cut costs, they might fire some of their staff. They will then stop spending on things like smartphones and televisions, and the technology store owner might look to sell his property if he can't afford to repay the mortgage, and thus property prices fall. So now you have the opposite, where less spending is creating less income for others, and declining demand causes prices to fall. Hopefully this shows you through the example of a very simple and small economy how the expansion and contraction of credit availability impacts economic growth. Let's now look at the structural factors that impact an economy. Just like an athlete will need fitness and strength to compete, so does an economy if it wants to develop and grow. So the factors that effectively can give an economy strength include land, population, industry, investment, infrastructure, and natural resources. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll try to demonstrate how they can be important. In the case of Australia, the country is abundant in natural resources like iron ore, copper, and aluminium. So this abundance is very beneficial because it gives Australia the opportunity to sell these resources to countries like China who lack these resources. The demand from China helped Australia to achieve an extended period of economic growth throughout the late 1990s and most of the 2000s. However, around 2015, China's demand for resources like iron ore dramatically fell, which caused numerous Australian mining businesses to suffer losses or even collapse. This delivered a huge blow to Australia's economic growth shortly after. For another example, we'll look at Japan. The country was one of the first in the Asian region to become a truly developed economy. In the 1980s, the country had made significant developments and attracted a lot of investment in their technology and car manufacturing industries. But today, a different structural factor that is holding back the economy is an aging population. As of 2014, 26% of the country's population was over the age of 65. The downside of this is that the more people there are in retirement, the more people there are not working, and taxpayers essentially have to fund their pensions. Less people working means less activity in the business sector, and less growth across the economy. So that's an insight into why economic cycles occur. They are driven by changes in the availability of credit and changing patterns in the structural factors of an economy.